Chester Roof Legacy Project is honored to welcome Dr. Marion Croak as this year's Inspiration and Innovation Gala guest speaker. Dr. Croak and William Chester Roof are separated by gender, generations, and geography, but they have a lot in common. Both are pioneering African American inventors who excelled in industries where people who looked like them were few and far between. Their work is timeless and continues to make a difference in the lives of others. Dr. Croak began her career at AT&T Bell Laboratories, intent on figuring out how technology could improve all our lives. She invented the technology to improve the reliability and scalability of voice-over internet protocol, enabling it to be used by billions of people. At AT&T, Dr. Croak also co-invented the technology that allows us to use text messaging to donate money to charitable organizations. This revolutionized giving after natural disasters. For example, people donated more than $43 million after the 2010 Haiti earthquake using text messaging. Dr. Croak received the 2013 Thomas Edison Patent Award for this technology. Today, Dr. Croak is the Vice President of Society-Centered AI and Foundational Machine Learning at Google. She holds over 200 patents, mostly focused on Internet Protocol technology. Dr. Croak has also won numerous awards, including the 2013 and 2014 Edison Patent Awards. She has been inducted into the Women in Technology International's Hall of Fame, the National Inventors Hall of Fame, the National Academy of Engineering, and the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Dr. Croak is a strong supporter of STEM initiatives and personally mentors many individuals. This is one reason why she agreed to be our gala guest speaker. A work conference prevented her from being with us in person, but she welcomed us into her home to talk about her life, work, and the future of technology.
Dr. Croak, thank you so much for inviting us into your beautiful home today to share some of your wisdom with the William Chester Roof Legacy Project. We're so appreciative.
And I'm honored for you to be here, and I feel immensely fortunate to be among Mr. Bruce's family. I can't believe you look so much like you do.
Now I'm blushing. It's among the best compliments I could ever get. He was a bit of a unicorn in his time. Maybe it's the case that many inventors are a bit of a unicorn, but there were things about him in his childhood that I think were indicators of the path that he would take in life as an inventor. For example, he loved to take things apart that were mechanical. He would just start disassembling things. Sometimes he'd get them back together, sometimes he couldn't. But just that mental and physical process of taking things apart, understanding how they work, putting them back together, probably prepared him for some of the inventive thoughts that he had later. And so I'm curious for you, were there things in your childhood that you feel like were early indicators that would pretend that Dr. Marion Croak would one day make some of her inventions?
It's so interesting that you use, what your grandfather used to do, great-grandfather used to do in terms of, fixing things and taking things apart and then trying to put them back together, because I used to do the same thing.
Really?
Yeah, I was the one that put together all the toys for and they wouldn't call my father, they would call me. And when I was younger and things would break around the house, like if we had a plumbing problem or something like that, I would follow the plumbers around trying to figure out, how they go about doing their work. And I guess amazed by it because it's quite complicated because you're trying to find something that you can't see.
Sure.
So you can only listen to how the water flows. And then I just learned so much about plumbing as a little girl because I couldn't fix something.
So you mentioned the plumber. Is that an example, or are there other examples of people you grew up with that kind of inspired you?
So, usually it was with people like who were laborers that did things. I was most interested in what they were doing. My father, of course, played a big role in stimulating me to think about kind of outside the box. She said that your great-grandfather was somewhat of a unicorn, and many inventors are perceived to be unicorns, and they're called original thinkers because they don't quite accept the status quo and believe that things that are is the way that they should be and will be, but they're trying to change things and make them better and improve them, either for themselves or for the world or the community around them.
I think you just sort of described the way that an inventor might think about bringing about change or a solution. Can you maybe double click on that for me? How do you go from a thought to kind of a swarmed idea to then something that's tangible that you and I can look at or talk about?
Yeah. So, first it's coming to the concept, and usually, and I think your great-grandfather practiced this as well, usually as far as I have, known inventors, they're trying to solve something that's personal to them, like there's a problem, and they're trying to get something done, and they see that there's, an obstacle to doing it. So they try to fix that, and in fixing it, sometimes they come up with something very original. And I think once you find a concept that solves a problem for you, it's important to understand work in that they generalize to solve problems for many other people. I think, one of us has the makeup inside of us to actually almost turn on a switch and say, how can I make my world better, or the world better? It depends on, what kind of scope you're looking at, but it usually begins with a problem and not just accepting the fact that this is, the tools that I have are difficult to use, but I have to use them every day. I'll just slug through it and, get through it, as opposed to, this can be fixed, this can be changed, and, either you can do it yourself or get a team together and you do it, but you don't accept the world as it is.
Wow, that's inspiring. Chester Ruth, for all the contributions that he made to farming in the early 20th century, he had limited to no formal education. And you, on the other hand, were privileged to attend some of the best universities in the country. You earned a PhD. It's fantastic. And so my question, and this is in particular for young people who might be watching, is there a certain education that one needs in order to become an inventor, or are there multiple paths that one might take? How do you think about that?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I read about your great-grandfather, and I saw that he had this, limited education, informal education, it reminded me so much of my father, who had to drop out of school at an early age to support his family. So, but he was one of the most brilliant people I've met to date, and I think I've been around a lot of brilliance in my life, but I still hold my father in the highest esteem for that. So, I really don't think that you need a formal education. I would encourage anyone who can get it to do that because it will make life easier, but certainly any of us can be an inventor. It's not a requirement that you get a formal education.
Well, that's really encouraging. I like that. And it's a perfect segue into a question that was submitted by one of our students. Michaela Weathers asked a question.
Hi, Dr. Croak. My name is Michaela Weathers. I am a student at Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology studying water environmental technology. I am interested in understanding your experience as a Black woman pursuing a career in science and technology. Did you encounter any unique challenges or obstacles in your journey?
I am 69 and I've been in tech now for 42 years. And so it's been an adventure. And what I will say is that I've received the grace, I think, to be able to walk through certain obstacles and not let it distract me from what I want to do. I don't know if it was Toni Morrison and maybe it was James Baldwin who said, racism serves as a distraction, to keep people from doing what they were born to do, what they were created to do, their purpose in life. You can get so caught up in the anger and, the hurt that comes from racism that you actually defeat yourself with all that inside of you. So if you can release it, you can acknowledge it and know that you want it to end and try to work through that in some other way, but don't let it discourage you.
Dr. Croak, if you were advising an up-and-coming student in a STEM discipline, what sorts of things might you advise them to do or to try or to focus on in order to advance their study?
Try to develop a certain discipline and focus in your life because that's what it's going to take in order to get through, more advanced work to become a scientist or an engineer or whatever you want to do, a physician. Sometimes people take up running, sometimes people take up, learning a new musical instrument just to break your mind away from, the hard work of being an engineering student or a math student or a student in science. Something that relaxes you but requires focus and discipline so that you're always building up those muscles.
Everybody's talking about AI these days. And for some of us, it's not sort of our natural language. It's not what we naturally understand. So I'm curious how you think about AI and how you think about how it might be useful and beneficial to society.
Yes, so, I think it's been 3 years now since I've gotten into the world of AI. And I would say, the inventions that people are coming up with, the applications that people are coming up with will help detect and is helping to detect diseases, to understand the nature of maybe our DNA, and it's used to help people with accessibility issues or disability issues in terms of giving them technologies that understand them. Maybe if you've had an impaired voice for many years, suddenly you have a device that you can speak into, and it can, convert that to text, and maybe after that it converts it to language again, so other people can spoken language, so other people can finally understand what you're saying. So there's reason to be optimistic. There's also reason to be cautious because there are things that we're still working on with AI in terms of hallucinations, meaning a lot of random information that may not be true, that it can, suddenly sprout. And so we just want to make sure that it's tight and responsible and fair and equitable before I would say there's no reason for concern.
Okay, time for another question from a student. This one is from Mia Bell, and it's about patents.
As an intern at End Solutions, I have had the opportunity to work on a patent in which I will be named inventor. As you know, in order to secure a patent, one must communicate an idea and its unique applications to others. My team and I are currently in the process of writing our own patent and we have found this part of the process particularly challenging. Can you provide any tricks of the trade that may help us navigate those waters?
Mia, first of all, congratulations to you and your team for creating a patent. I know that you're not fully completed with it, but just the fact that you're attempting to do it is incredibly important. So what it says to describe or the creation of what you're talking about, you fully delineate what you're talking about and its use. Like, is it really going to benefit people in the way that you think it will? And then also, you use the term unique, and that is on a patent application. So there's this term called prior art, where you have to do research, or a patent attorney can do it for you, or perhaps another researcher that maybe doing it could do it for you, or do it yourself, to make sure that what you are creating and putting on paper is truly unique and hasn't been done before.
Last question, sort of a general question. Is there anything that we didn't talk about, or anything that I didn't ask that you might say, well, I probably would have shared that if you had asked about it?
In reading about your great-grandfather, I just felt like, I don't know why this is interesting, but I felt like an identification with them, because the problems that I solve are usually ones that I encounter, and they're not theoretical from, just trying to explore science or something like that. But it usually starts with, I have relatives that's aging, how can we help them? Or I have, issues, I have people who have accessibility problems and aren't mobile and can, it's hard to discern their speech, and how can we help them? Or people who speak, a language that is very, what they call low resource, meaning there's not enough of it that's written and able to incorporate into the world of the data that we need for AI, and that's part of the internet. So I don't know, I just felt, even though our fields are so vastly different, I really, I fell in love with your great grandfather, to be honest with you, because of his humbleness and his clear brilliance, and just, he was not only I think of him as a scientist, but an inventor, but also a businessman. And during a very hard time in, American history for Black men. And I think if we could have more people like that in the world, it would be so much better.
Hi everyone, I'm DR.CROAK, and I hope you are enjoying the gala for William Chester Ruth and his amazing legacy. I'm so sorry that I cannot be with you tonight, but I had the pleasure of meeting his family, his wonderful family, and I enjoyed the interview, and I hope to meet many more of you one day. Thank you again. Take care and enjoy.